It's finally happened. The game is out. Redeemart is out in Steam Early Access. It's finally done. What's up, YouTube? I'm back again. Redeemart is finally out in Steam Early Access, and so we have a lot of talking to do. We got to talk about Steam Next Fest. We got to talk about all the work I've done to actually get Redeemart ready for release. We got to talk about release, and we got to talk about what's coming up next. So let's hop into it. Okay, so let's not bury the lead here. Let's start with the most exciting thing. Redeemart is officially out in Steam Early Access and available for purchase. After 7.5 years, it's finally out. Can't tell you how happy I am. I'll leave a link in the description below. You guys can check it out, go in there, give it a buy. But before we start talking about it being out and what's happening in the next steps, we gotta talk about since the last time I spoke to you all. After the last devlog, I was really focused on getting ready for the Steam Next Festival. Steam Next Fest is a festival of new games coming out that Steam puts on, which is just an opportunity to get some good visibility for your game prior to release. And it ended up being a really positive experience. I think it really forced me to get a lot done. I think I knew I was closing in on early access release, but I still had no idea how much left I had to go. A lot of the work to get ready for it was around kind of marketing materials. So you can see I have a trailer now on the YouTube page that I spent a lot of time putting together, making art assets, writing Steam page descriptions, going through, and especially getting a demo together really took a lot of time, just getting it polished, getting it up on Steam, and then finding bugs within that. I know this is by no means a novel thought, but it's really the last 10% of finishing any project is 90% of the work. It just takes so much time to polish things and get things together and finish things off and, get to a point where someone can play your game and it won't break. So I spent hours and hours on the demo going through it. I've played through the first chapter of the game so many times now. It's very brutal. There's like a 10-minute, 11-minute intro to the game. I've gone through that so many times now, just trying to get it to that polished state, and there's really just no way to skip it. You just have to keep going through, keep making notes, what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be fixed. And even then, I still encountered problems when I released it. Steam Next was a really good experience. It brought lots and lots of eyes to the game. I got to have my Steam page, my Steam store item on the main page of Steam, which I think is super valuable. I got lots of wish lists out of it, kind of showcased that demo, which is awesome. And for me, it was really the kick in the pants I needed. So I really was pleased with it from that standpoint. But what came along with it was unfortunately a pretty big bummer. In prepping the demo, I went through and really worked hard to make sure I ironed out all of the bugs in the build on my machine. And so I got to a point where I was feeling pretty confident with it. And when the festival started, I had the demo live, and I just can't tell you how awesome a feeling that was of just knowing this is now publicly available. People can play the game. I know the game is out now in early access, but at the time it was crazy that my game is out and people have access to it. The goal of this project from the beginning was to have people play it. With the demo being live, I was just happy, just assumed people were checking out the game. And then, unfortunately, I went and I checked the analytics on the demo. At the start of the demo, I posted a note saying, if you have any problems, please let me know. Please contact me. I have a Steam forum post to let me know any errors you're having. And then when I checked the analytics, I saw it was like 97 or 98% of players had only played the game for 1 minute or less, which meant to me that the game was crashing on people. And so just a pit in the bottom of my stomach of disappointment of finding this out. And I had one player reach out to me on the forum post and let me know. I have no idea how many people played. I think hundreds, maybe thousands, and only one person contacted me. But from them contacting me, they sent me some logs, and I was able to determine that it was because of different computer hardware. I've talked about this a bunch on this channel, but making your own engine is really, rough at times and it's flying blind, where you have no idea where problems are going to arise, and you can get the game engine working really well on your computer and then you release it in the wild and it breaks on other people's computers. Ultimately, I ended up discovering that I have a NVIDIA graphics card, I have a 1060, and users that had AMD cards, my graphics shader code was breaking, which was super frustrating because it compiles every time you run the game, and it was compiling no problem on my NVIDIA card, but AMD cards compile differently, each card compiles differently, and so it was breaking for them, which was just a huge bummer. There was no way I could test for that unless I had another graphics card. And so going through all that, it was just super disappointing. Working on the game by myself like I have, it's really hard not to take everything personally and feel like this project is a representation of you. And just having failures or things go bad, it's hard not to feel like that's a reflection on you. Definitely going through this experience, it made me be like, I gotta get back to working with other people. If nothing else, you have safety nets of other people, and you also feel like everybody bears some responsibility and you're not quite as personally invested. So after taking some time and licking my wounds for a little bit, I tried to spin it around and view it as a positive. I've kind of been saying all along doing these videos that getting the game out in the wild, I'm gonna find bugs, there's gonna be problems. Even on the store page, I wrote in, I'm gonna find issues, there's gonna be problems, I can't test for everyone's machines. And so this was kind of part of that. It was just a disappointment in that it's kind of part of the game's marketing timeline, and you're trying to build excitement and you're trying to win people over with your game. And so those people who played the game and it crashed, that's not a very positive experience for them. But you need to find these issues, and the weird thing with software is sometimes when you don't find issues, it almost makes you uncomfortable. Like finding bugs builds your confidence, because as you find these issues and you repair them, you're gaining this confidence more and more that, this is sound and things are working the way they're supposed to. So to fix all these issues, I ended up having to buy an AMD graphics card, which wasn't too cheap. But when I installed that in my computer and I started running the game, I found I was encountering all of these errors. So I had to go back through and fix these shader errors. I guess this is just one of those things you encounter and you learn over time, but crazy to me that the code can run no problem on one graphics card and on another graphics card have all of these issues. And the other thing I implemented to hopefully help resolve this in the future was I actually set up a database, so if the game crashes initially, a prompt will pop up and it'll say, would you like to report this? And if you do report this, it'll go to a database, so hopefully I'll have access to these logs and I can see where things are breaking. Because I generate log files, and so those log files were saying what the issues were, but it's on those users' computers and I don't have access to it. So with this change, hopefully I can see where people are having problems. With that unfortunate circumstance passed, I moved on from Steam Next. Definitely a bit of a bummer, but overall it was good for exposure of the game, and it really got me moving in terms of getting the game together and moving towards release. After that, it was time to buckle down and get ready for the early access release. I think I've talked about it a bit on the channel before, but the early access release is the first quarter of the game, so the majority of getting ready for early access was around content. Setting up the dialogue to play properly, having the enemy combat waves, triggering, and along with that, there was a lot of bug fixes and improvements. I also had to do some work to integrate the game into Steam, so initializing its API and bringing that in and setting it up so you can get achievements in the game and the Steam overlay is available, just so everything works properly with that. I put together some footage of all the updates, so let's see if we can do a speed run here of everything that's been changed. So the game now has a loading screen here when you first start it up. Got updated options, so you can disable rumble, you can invert the controls on the bricks, and I also have a credits so you can view the licensing on everything I've used in the game. The combat's undergone an overhaul. We got the turtle enemies, melee enemies, and now projectile enemies as well. All of that's working well. I've done a ton of work with mouse input to make sure that that's tuned as well as the controller input. The upgrades from the cards are implemented, so you can see in this footage, every time I roll, I leave a poison puddle. That's one of the upgrades. There's been lots of stability tuning and improvements on that front to prevent crashes. It's running very stable now, as well as some performance optimization around text rendering. There's been updates to the audio system, so there's now better spatial audio. Also, there's priority audio, so hopefully things like footsteps will be overwritten by more important sound effects. A lot of work was done on the tuning and content, so having all of the text displaying at the right time and tuning all of these levels so the game plays the right level of challenge and gets more difficult as it goes on. You won't be able to see it in this footage, but I've also improved all of the save systems, so that keeps up nicely, and I've also added in a lot of good error handling, so if the game is not able to run, you get proper messages. A nice new game over screen. I improved the card UI here, so every time you draw a new card for your set, you get this prompt and some confetti. And I built out all of the upgrades for the cards you'll have in early access. I spent a lot of time on the brick gameplay. You can see there's now this highlight underneath which will change color when your brick is in the right spot. You can now hold down the right trigger to speed up the fall speed so it becomes a bit more engaging. I did a lot of work around save files, making sure that everything was loading properly. The AI, so having your companions, your friends you make along the way place bricks, I did a lot of overhaul there. And as mentioned in the options screen, you now have the ability to toggle the camera to invert the y-axis, which is a nice touch. So as you can probably tell with this speedrun, I've been very busy setting all this up. Lots of stuff has gone into the game, lots of big changes and improvements. After all of that cramming to get the game ready for early access, on May 12th, I finally hit the release button on Steam, which was pretty crazy to say the least after all this time working on this to finally be able to release it to the public. It was an insane feeling, both good and bad. I mean, like, it's such a huge hump to release to the public, and then from there to be able to keep growing it. It was just a massive weight off my shoulders. And also, you know, it's scary and it's just a crazy process to go through, I guess. In terms of sales, the game's done okay. It hasn't sold too many copies, but I'm trying to view it more so as just getting it under my belt and getting that release out there. And from there, anytime now people can buy it and I can continue to grow it and build it up. And my plan is with the YouTube channel to be way more active and try and grow a community through that. And so I'm trying to just view it as I need to get that initial release out and get things moving. To go alongside the release, I made a Discord page for the game for people who bought it in early access or people who just want to follow along. There's channels to talk about bugs you found, ideas for the game, things you'd like to see in the store. I'll link it in the description below. Feel free to check it out and join in, and even if you don't want to buy the game, you can kind of be a part of the development and suggest some ideas. So that all leads into what's next and what's going to happen with this channel and what's going to happen with the game. So before that 6-month blackout period, I felt like I just needed to finish the game. I just needed to get it out there and get it under my belt and get moving, you know? Now that it's out, the tempo of my work is really changing. I'm going to keep updating the game, obviously, both with minor updates with bug fixes, as well as the major updates to complete the early access development cycle. But with this channel, I want to try doing different stuff. I want to try doing game jams and working on other engines and different projects, and I want to try making videos that are more code focused and showing different parts of the game and building things from the ground up. It kind of goes without saying, but for a long time there, I've really felt like I'm kind of just in this hole of I gotta finish this game, I just gotta do this, right? And now that it's out there, it's super exciting. It's like a world of freedom. I can do things other than just working on finishing the game. So hopefully we can try some new things on the channel, different video ideas, and let me know what you want to see. Do you want to see more of the updates with the game, what I'm going to be working on? Do you want to see more art videos like this one, this drawing video? Do you want to see one-off game jams and working with different engines? Let me know. I'm excited for trying some new stuff on the channel. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Really means so much to me. I'm so stoked on all the progress. And I can't wait to make some new videos, try new stuff out. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow along. We got exciting things coming along. Talk to you guys later.